The Super Bowl isn't just about jaw-dropping plays, over-the-top halftime shows, and an excuse to eat way too many wings. It's also packed with some downright crazy facts. We're breaking down 8 of the wildest Super Bowl surprises. Stick around for number 1, because knowing it might just make you the Patrick Mahomes of your Super Bowl party. You might think the Vince Lombardi Trophy gets passed around like the Stanley Cup. No, this isn't hockey. Every single year, the NFL commissions a brand new trophy, handcrafted by Tiffany & Company. You know, the same people behind those little blue boxes that make everyone swoon and make your debit card sweat because, let's be real, Tiffany's is not cheap. And neither is the trophy. It costs $50,000, takes 4 months to create, and weighs 7 pounds. So yeah, this isn't your T-ball participation trophy. It's the crown jewel of American football. Of course, some people get a little too excited about winning it. After the Giants won Super Bowl 42, lineman Sean O'Hara's father literally took off with the Lombardi Trophy so the family could snap a photo with it. No harm done, just a proud dad making sure they had the ultimate souvenir. And then there's Rob Gronkowski. If you know anything about Gronk, you already know where this is going. After the Patriots' Super Bowl 53 win, he decided the Lombardi Trophy would make a great baseball bat and bunted a pitch with it at Fenway Park. The result? A big old dent. Was it an accident? Let's just call it vintage Gronk. Back in Super Bowl 45 in 2011 at Cowboys Stadium, hundreds of fans had their dream day turn into a nightmare. Due to construction delays, 400 ticket holders arrived expecting the game of a lifetime, only to find their seats didn't exist. Some were relocated, but others were left scrambling for a spot. And this wasn't just any stadium. This was Jerry's World, the $1.3 billion football palace where you'd think everything would be flawless. But on the biggest stage, it turned into a fiasco. The NFL offered triple the ticket price as compensation. But let's be real, that's nothing compared to missing out on the biggest game of the year. Imagine spending thousands on travel, hotels, and merch, only to end up watching from a tiny TV in the concourse. Some fans were so furious they filed lawsuits. And honestly, who could blame them? If this happened to you, would you take the money or demand more? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Imagine making a one-handed 37-yard touchdown catch in the biggest football game of your life, only for the footage to be wiped out because someone wanted to save some money. That's what happened to Max McGee's iconic reception in Super Bowl I back in 1967. Both CBS and NBC broadcasted the game, but neither kept a full recording. Why? Back then, videotape was expensive, and networks often reused tapes instead of archiving games. Nobody realized how massive the NFL would become. For decades, the game was considered lost until a man in Pennsylvania discovered the most complete recording in his attic. His father had taped it, but the footage is still missing the halftime show and part of the third quarter. A legal battle between the tape's owner and the NFL dragged on for years. But in 2024, the Paley Center for Media finally restored and digitized the footage. Fans got to witness a rare piece of football history nearly 60 years after it was played. How does the Super Bowl decide who's the home team when neither team is actually at home? Simple. Odd-numbered Super Bowls go to the NFC, and even-numbered ones go to the AFC. That might not seem like a big deal, but it actually matters, because the home team picks their jersey color. Some teams take it very seriously. In Super Bowl 40, the Steelers chose to wear white because they'd been undefeated in their white jerseys during the playoffs. Call it superstition or strategy, but they won. And they weren't alone. Teams wearing white jerseys have dominated Super Bowl history, fueling the belief in a white jersey advantage. Now here's where it gets weird. In Super Bowl 56, the Los Angeles Rams played in their own stadium, but were officially the visiting team. That meant the Cincinnati Bengals got to pick their black home jerseys, but the Rams still got to use their own locker room. Meanwhile, the Bengals were stuck in the visitors' facilities, normally used by the Los Angeles Chargers. And sure, it's the visitors' locker room, but in a $5.5 billion stadium, how bad could it really be? Super Bowl 36 holds a unique place in NFL history, not just for the game itself, but for how it had to adapt after 9/11. When the attacks happened, the NFL postponed all Week 2 games, pushing the entire season back by a week. That meant for the first time ever, the Super Bowl wasn't played in January. It was played in February. But that wasn't the only hurdle. The game was set for New Orleans, but the Superdome was already booked for a massive auto convention. Canceling wasn't an option. So after some serious negotiations, the event was rescheduled, and football took center stage. The halftime show also changed. U2 performed instead of the original planned act, delivering an emotional tribute with the names of the victims displayed behind them. Their performance became one of the most powerful moments in Super Bowl history. At first, the February Super Bowl was supposed to be a one-time shift. But 2 years later, as schedule expansions pushed the season later, the NFL made it permanent. Now Super Bowl Sunday isn't just a game, it's a February tradition for football fans everywhere. Super Bowl 55 had a surprise play no one saw coming, because it wasn't from a player. Yuri Andrade stole the spotlight by sprinting onto the football field in Tampa Bay during the fourth quarter, rocking a bright pink leotard. But here's where it gets wild. Andrade claimed that he had placed a $50,000 bet on a prop wager that there would be a streaker during the game, with plus 750 odds. If true, this would have netted him $375,000. But instead of cashing in, Andrade made one crucial mistake. He couldn't keep his mouth shut. After bragging about his genius scheme, the sportsbook caught wind and immediately voided the bet, citing rules against influencing outcomes. Turns out, fixing a bet isn't as easy as just running across a football field. It could have been the smartest bet ever made. Almost. Next time, if you're pulling a stunt on the NFL's biggest stage, maybe don't tell 100 million people. Super Bowl 48 was historic before the game was even played. It was the first ever Super Bowl held in an open-air, cold-weather stadium, taking place at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. The NFL wanted to prove that football's biggest game could happen in any climate, not just in warm-weather cities or domed stadiums. Plus, bringing the Super Bowl to the New York media market meant massive publicity and an even grander stage for American football's biggest event. But there was one risk: snow. Fans worried a winter storm could turn the game into a frozen mess. Instead, kickoff temperatures hit a mild 49 degrees Fahrenheit, making it the third coldest Super Bowl ever. But far from the blizzard many feared. Then, just hours after the Seattle Seahawks rolled the Denver Broncos, a massive storm rolled in, dumping 8 inches of snow and shutting down travel. Honestly, after getting destroyed 43-8, Peyton Manning might have wished the storm had come early. At least he'd have something to blame. And just like that, you're the coolest NFL fan at your Super Bowl party. From lost rings to streakers to bad life choices, you've got the best football stories to drop during halftime. Which fact blew your mind the most? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more wild NFL stories.